Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is I, the original gamer, StevieStrow, and I'm here with you on the Radio Shack TRS-80 color computer, also known as the Coco, and I am showing you another really cool cartridge game from 1981. This game was called Popcorn, and this was one of the first games I ever saw with the name you see on your screen here that's called Steve Bjork. Now, Steve Bjork would grow to rock star status with us, legendary rock star elite status. Steve Bjork ended up making some of the best, coolest games that this computer ever saw. This is one of his original ones. This was a Radio Shack cartridge, and this game was inspired by an Atari cartridge called Kaboom, which was actually made by Activision. In Kaboom, you moved around a little bucket of water and you had to catch a bomber who was dropping things, and that game was inspired by probably Breakout or something else like that. So this was one of these games where you had to catch falling objects for as long as you can until the game was over. So let's see how well we do, shall we? So you start off with many catchers, much like you had, I think, 3 buckets in Kaboom to catch bombs with, and then as you missed objects, you start losing your catchers. And the longer you play, the more faster and the more challenging things get. And so these are just rows of popcorn that are kind of randomly falling on the screen, and you got to move your little controller around and catch them. This game took really good advantage of the analog controller because of the fluid movement where you could move from side to side very quickly, very rapidly. Unlike the rigid joystick that the Atari used, that was good for a lot of the just simple 4-directional games. This game really needed something kind of like a mouse or a trackball to be able to move quickly. So the lame controllers that weren't good for conventional games were really good for this game. So I am trying to catch all the popcorn. If you catch all the popcorn, you will be rewarded with something spectacular, and you will hopefully see here in just a second. If I manage to catch all the popcorn, you're not going to believe what's going to happen here. So get ready. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. And here you bam! Look at that. When you catch all the popcorn, you get another screen full of popcorn. What do you think of that, folks? I think that's awesome. And that's kind of how these games worked. The games in the 80s were basically repetitive. You kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. However, what usually happened is that they started to get faster and more challenging the longer you played. So they kept upping the stakes, upping the degree of difficulty with you, but eventually you will lose. These games were designed to defeat you. There was no end to the games. They just went on forever. So let's see how long we can actually play here. And unfortunately, this was an early game, but this was 1980, 1981, I think. And a lot of the early games, especially from like 80 and 81, really lacked a lot of things. This game was fun. Its only downside was it was just kind of completely monotonous and repetitive, but not as bad as some of the other ones. It was really cute, you know. Took advantage of the 4 colors that you could get on screen. Halfway decent sound effects, you know, but it didn't really offer any intermissions, not too many fanfares, no little tiny break or reward. It was a real classic, typical arcade, keep doing the same thing till you die type game. I'm not knocking it at all because that's the way all the games were, but my only criticism would have been if they could have thrown in a little bit of spice here, they would have made it better, and they did that later on. Steve Bjork made Mega Bug, which had music and animation. Steve Bjork made a lot of different games that went on to have musics and marquees and fanfares and intermissions and all the more advanced features that we came to expect from real arcade games. So for an early title, this isn't bad. It's not as bad as for, let's just say, Pinball. Pinball was one of the earlier titles that was so embarrassing. I really want to smack the person who made it because I'm like, dude, what were you thinking? I want to smack Radio Shack. I know Radio Shack's not a person, but dudes, come on. Take a little bit of pride. I want you to look up the words quality control and apply it at some point in time. Yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, what I'm seeing here is I think I'm going to keep doing this forever. I know it'll get harder. I know it will get faster. I don't know that I want to wait for that to happen. I think I've kind of demonstrated to you what this game looks like, how it plays, what the goal is, what the object is, and what the rewards are. None. There are no rewards. See, your only reward is to play for as long as you can and go for the almighty high score. That's all we tried to do, was basically best our own scores or best the scores of our friends by saying, yeah, look at the score I got. How much better can you do? Now, because this was a cartridge, cartridges are read-only memory. If you ever turn the computer off and you turn it back on again, whatever that high score was wouldn't even be there anymore. So I'm not sure how we really tracked that. I'm not sure if anybody was so geeky that they wrote it down in a book or they took a Polaroid picture. I really don't know how people track their scores. I don't think I really did. I know I played a lot, but I don't think I ever obsessed over tracking my scores or tracking my friends' scores or anything like that. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and let the game end. Let's just miss these things on purpose. When it hits the ground, it's hitting like a conveyor belt, and the conveyor belt just kind of ushers it away off the screen. So it's a cool concept. That's kind of cute, right? So I guess you could say we're in a popcorn factory. I don't know where popcorn is made. I've always made my popcorn in a microwave. I've never gone to the needs of conveyor belts for that. But yeah, okay, I've got one paddle left. One paddle left. How long can I deal with the insanity? So this is almost a reverse breakout, right? In breakout, you're using a paddle to break objects. In this game here, the objects are falling and you have to catch them with your paddle. So definitely breakout inspired. And I made it to level 1. I don't know how many levels there were. I'm not sure. But anyways, this was popcorn. This was, I would not call this a miss. I would call this a hit because this game did its job. It provided us entertainment. It provided us decent color, enough sound and interesting things to have all the key elements a decent 80s game, especially an early 80s game, would have. What I know from experience is that the person who made this game, Steve Bjork, went on to make some incredible, amazing things that were just like blow your mind type games. This guy and a few other people made games that made us proud, unlike some of the other Radio Shack games. So anyways, I am the original gamer, StevieStrow. This has been another Radio Shack TRS-80 color computer cartridge showcase. If you like this video, give it a big fat thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please click on the subscribe button. If you got anything you want to say, throw out a comment. Share this video with your friends and tell the world how awesome old crappy games are, because they are. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time, and peace out, everybody.